Hello y'all, welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be showing y'all how I do a lace closure install. So make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe. First, here are the things that I'll be using. This is some old hair and an old closure that I'll be reusing. The knots have been bleached already. If you want to see how to do that, you can watch another video. And I have shears and my elastic band. Those are really important. I already have my needles threaded, and out of all of them I keep a short one. I'm going to show you why, but always keep a short one ready to go so that you don't have to keep stopping and re-threading needles, even though I have to anyway. I use this foam to mold. I use this hairspray. I don't use Pump It Up, but you can, and I use this Moroccan argan oil for shine. And over here I use Dugor oil. I use Miracle Drops too, but I ran out. I use that to moisturize the scalp. So right now I'm parting the hair. She wants the middle part. And the parting is very, very important. So make sure to get in front of your client to make sure that it's accurate, because if it's off to the side, we're going to have some issues. And for my braid pattern, I go ahead and part all the way down the middle for this style. And you'll see why when I show you my braiding pattern. So the first few braids are very important. And they're important because they're your anchor braids. They're going to be what's the stability of your install will be. And my client was already detangled. I'm thinking about uploading a video on how to detangle natural hair too. So here we go. She does not need any braiding hair, so I just went ahead and started braiding. So with this braiding pattern, of course it's no leave out. I don't even leave any baby hairs out. I'm going to do both sides this way. I just go down, and then when I get, well, the first one you go completely down, and the second one and so on, you'll braid halfway, and then you'll take the tail of that braid up into the next braid. And I know some people are kind of iffy about this braiding pattern because it can cause tension, but every braid pattern can cause tension as long as you're gripping right and make sure that the hair isn't pulling more in certain areas. And if the client has nice strong hair, then it's okay. But if you see that the client has breakage, you should add braiding hair or maybe even switch up your entire braiding pattern. So as you can see, I'm going to braid down, and now I'm going to add the braid up into the next braid. And this is going to keep your install very flat. This is half of the hair braided. I'm going to do the other half the exact same way. I just went ahead and did it off camera so that we can save some time. But these are the secure braids that I like to use for my lace closure installs. So right now I'm going to show you how I measure the elastic band for my client. I take it and I put it around her head, and I already know the size of the lace closure, so I don't have to place it up there, but you can if you're just starting out, so you can know where your band stops at. But I like to do this to make sure it won't be too tight, and it'll just be the right size, and we won't have to keep adjusting it once it's already applied onto my client's head. So here's the lace closure that I will be using. You can see that it's already bleached. So with the band, I will come flush to the front of it, and then I will lay it flat, and I will sew along the end of that band just to make sure that it's flat to the closure. So I just do regular sewing. Just try not to get the hair caught in there as many times as I did. Or if it does happen to you, just make sure you pull it back out so that you won't be sewing hair up into the band. And I don't do a knot every time when I'm sewing the band on because it's unnecessary. But when I do the first stitching and the last stitching, I try to do a knot so that I can make sure that the band will stay on there. So this is how your first side should look. When you're going onto the other side, make sure that you have the band straight, because if it's twisted, it can be irritating like a twisted bra strap. So just make sure it's straight. And like I said, the sewing is exactly the same on the other side. Just make sure you don't do it too tight to where that it folds or have those ripples in there, because then it'll just make it look lumpy in the front. And this is what I was talking about when I said it'll be good for bringing it closer to the front of the hairline. So this is the excess. I'm just cutting that off because we don't need that. And this is how your closure should look once you have the band sewn on there. See, it's really simple. It don't take too much. I hope y'all closures look better than mine. Mine was done a little sloppy, but y'all get the idea. So this is how it goes onto your client head. You just put it on just like a wig, but it's just a closure. And the back of it, well, all of it will be sewn down, so you don't have to worry about that. But just make sure it's not irritating your client's skin about like being on her ear or even behind her head, because the braids are fresh, so it can be tight. So if that is the case, try to loosen it or place it on the braids and not on the back of the neck. So this is how it should look. And at this point, you can move it wherever you want to. You can slide it more to the side, to the middle, or to the like back a little more if you want more of her edges out. But I don't want any of her edges out. Like you can see on the side, her edges on the side, they actually come out a little farther than her middle part. So just make sure you find her actual hairline and be flush with it, because we don't want to make your forehead look too small and be crazy looking. So now I'm going to pin this up, get this out the way, and I'm going to show you how I sew it down. So since the front of the closure is already secure, you can go ahead and just start sewing regular around the crown of the closure. So I try to do it as close as I can, but not too close, because you don't want it to be too tight to where that it could cause breakage and or it could be annoying and tight. So for this one, I do a knot after every stitch, or I try to, just so that I can make sure it's secure. Like if something was to come loose, it shouldn't like flop off her head or something. And I do one side at a time when I'm sewing my closure down, just to avoid having like a roll in the closure. So I do not pull the closure when I'm sewing. So just make sure you watch for that when you're sewing. Try to keep it where it is. And if you feel like it's moving, just go and check the front every few stitching or something like that. Take your clip out. Make sure your closure's still where you want to be, so you don't have to worry about it slipping. Another reason why I like this is because you don't have to have your client holding one side really tight, or the stylist don't have to be sewing on your edges really tight, because this can be protective and it can be harmful. So if you take the more protective route, then you will get better results in the long run. And I sew underneath. I know it's different, but I just can't do the other way. So this is what I mean when I said I do one half at a time. When I'm done, I bring them together like this, and I tie a knot and cut off the excess. So now we're going to install hair. I am doubling up the wefts in the back because I want it to be full and I want to get as much hair in there as possible. In the back, I'm going to just be doing straight across, back and forth, up until I get until like midway, because then I'm going to be sewing onto the closure. And then that's when of course we want the back to be really really flat, but when we get up to the top, that's very important. Like we can't have any mishaps, no lumps. So this is just regular sewing. You can do the little loop after every sewing, or you don't have to. As long as you make sure you secure the first and the last stitch, and probably in the middle, you'll be fine. You can do regular stitching. And as you gain more experience, you'll get faster and you'll get more efficient with it. So don't feel bad if you take longer, or if you even move fast. Just make sure you're not being careless, because you can poke your client. You can make her have a loose track, anything. Oh, and I get my needles and thread from my beauty supply store. I actually get the really big rolls of thread, so I don't have to rebuy them. And I'm sorry, I don't get my needles from this store anymore. I go to Amazon, because they give you a whole lot, like 12 for like a package deal. So yeah. And I use cotton thread. I don't like nylon thread, because one time I did a sewing on my hair and my mom took it out for me, and she said the nylon thread, it ripped through my hair. Like it looked so fine. It looked like I cut it with some shears, but it was actually the thread. I had pulled it too tight. Cotton is annoying too a little, because it swells when it gets wet, or it knots up a lot, but it's solid and it's real sturdy, and it makes your installs last longer, I think. So that's why I like them. And these bundles are really cut up. I normally don't cut my bundles until I get to the top, but they've already been cut, so I'm just installing them and trying to fit them in the best way possible. So a lot of clients be tripping about cutting your wefts. But if that's what you got to do, cut them. Just make sure you seal them, or just try to give her preventive ways so that her bundles don't shed as much. But hair is going to shed regardless, so don't let that stress you if you're worried about your bundles shedding. Now, if it's excessive shedding, you might need to find a new vendor or new hair, but cutting the web should not be a deal breaker for you. It can be minimized, but it shouldn't make you just switch your whole stylist or whatever. So as you can see, I'm getting higher and higher. I'm just going straight across. I don't have to really fold these over because they're cut, but if you need to see a video on how to fold over your wefts, I can show that because I learned a little trick in school and it's been working, so I don't mind sharing it if y'all would like to know. And you see how helpful it is keeping your needles threaded beforehand, because if you don't, you'll have to keep stopping during your install, and it takes longer because the time will keep adding up. So now we're getting up here closer to the band, and this is really important. Like you see, it's just basic sewing up until you get there, and it's really basic until the band too. You just gotta know that you do puncture the elastic band. Like when you sew, you go through the band. You can try to avoid it as much as you can, like just go through the thread on it, but it's kind of hard to do that without going through the band. You see, like it's really basic sewing through it. Nothing fancy. And then the rest is just regular. You just fill it in from there. And you see how the band is not directly on her hairline? That is okay because it will be covered with tracks. And I don't know if you can see, but if you see the closure on top of the band, you see how it looks like it's not flat? That's okay because it actually is flat. And once you come back around and sew tracks over that, you won't even see it. So it's okay when you have little mishaps like that because it'll get covered up. And make sure you brush through or comb through the wefts or the hair because it can get matted up, especially at the roots because it's not getting touched all the time. So here's the final product. Well, not the final product, almost the final product. I'm just combing through the hair to make sure that it's detangled so that I can go ahead and style and mold the closure. Molding the closure is pretty easy, especially for this one because it's already been molded. But I'm going to go ahead and show you anyway so that you can mold your closures. This is where the foam comes into play. Make sure you have a blow dryer. I meant to say that in the beginning, but you will need one for this part. So make sure you brush that down too so that it'll blend in with the hair. And I always I put my hand at the top of the closure whenever I'm brushing or wig so that you don't pull hair out or even snatch the closure up. So I apply mousse or foam to the top of the closure, and I make sure I saturate it. I comb it through so that you can make sure all the hair that you want to be, really flat is wet. I like to use a comb for this part to make sure that it actually gets through the rest of the hair and not just the top of the closure. Because we don't want it to look like the cone head type thing. We don't want that. And make sure you have enough hair going towards the back too, because you need to cover up the back of the tracks. It's just like leave out. Like if you don't have enough leave out, then it's not gonna cover your tracks. So I'm taking my blow dryer, I'm putting it on cool. Make sure you have it on cool because right now we're getting really close to the scalp. So you see my left hand is holding the hair down and my hand with the blow dryer is actually drying it because we're molding it. Make sure that you keep it cool because it'll melt the lace and it'll burn your client. So we just want to be safe. So I already curled her hair and I did her edges. Right now I'm just going to do a little touching up with the plucking because it's already been plucked and I don't want to make the part too wide. Just make sure you're really careful right now because it's very tedious. And if you pluck too much, you can make the part really wide and that's not cute. You basically ruin it if you do that. It don't have to be too straight either because we want it to look natural. I mean, it can be straight. Of course, we don't want it to be crooked, but just not too like uniform looking or it'll not look like natural. So I'm just coming back with a little concealer because you see how it looks a little white and ashy. I'm just going to put concealer on there to make it look like her skin. And you don't have to put too much, just a little so that it'll look like scalp. And make sure you like kind of brush it in so whether it goes through the holes in the lace, because you don't want it to sit on top and then look cakey. So that's how it looked after I added concealer. Of course, my client likes it. She feeling herself already. So now I'm going to take the pins out of my pin curls. And she wanted to be surprised, so she covered her face or whatever. But these curls are really easy. They're actually my favorite because they're so easy and quick to do. They're like big body curls. They give the hair a lot of volume. And I just use duckbill clips to hold them. And I used hairspray, but I didn't use a lot. I used Big Sexy Hair. I think it's Spray and Hold or something. I didn't use too much because I didn't want it to be really stiff. So if you don't like stiff hair, I don't recommend like too much pump it up. And you see in the front, my curl was so messed up. The rest of them were popping. So this one I'm actually going to touch up. And I'm using, I think, a Hot Tools 1-inch barrel. And I'm going to curl it backwards. Make sure you comb it through really good. And then take the curling iron and just touch it up. These curls are easy to maintain because when they fall, it makes the hair look even prettier. Like, it makes it look really full. So it's not like an ugly type my curls fell. It's actually pretty cute. And sometimes I like it even better when the curls fall. So how I tell my client to keep her curls up or keep them looking like this, I just tell her to, in the front, just twist them backwards. Like, blend them together. It's really easy. That curl messed up in the front, so I don't know what it was about the front. But I had to fix both sides. I already applied hairspray, so I didn't apply it again because I didn't want it to be stiff. But see, it's just regular curls to the back, just to give it like that type of bang effect, but not actually a bang. Oh. So it looked like I'm being rough, but I'm not. My client just being dramatic. But as you can see, she loves it, and it looks really natural. So that is the look we're going for. You see how it don't look lumpy and it looks flat? Because what we don't want is for it to be looking like a helmet. Here's my client trying to flip the hair and stuff. You know when you try to ask your client to be cute with it and she be trying to. But yeah, so this is the end, and I'm just twisting the curls back so that they mesh into each other and just polishing it to make sure it look nice. I got this hair from some local place in Atlanta, the color from a beauty supply store. So please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and follow me on Instagram and tell me what you think. Bye.